Hi, good afternoon, everyone. It's Dina with JCC Maccabi. We're going to give it a couple minutes for everybody to join in, and we're going to kick off our connecting roommates and confirming background behind the scenes training. Thank you guys again for joining us. We're going to give it another minute or two, and then we're going to kick off. All right, guys. Hi, good afternoon. Again, it's Dina from JCC Maccabi at JCC Association. Thank you so much for taking the time this afternoon to join us as we the confirming process and the background and sort of what your obligations are as it relates to confirming your roommate requests and getting them all set up in the system to be confirmed. So I've gone ahead and I've muted everybody. I do have the chat box open. So if you have any questions, I will be monitoring that throughout the process. I, of course, will also be taking breaks throughout this to ask for questions and to see if anything, any feedback from the group, any of our maybe longstanding delegation heads who may have tricks of the trade that I'm not thinking of, the floor will be opened to you guys. In addition to that, as with all of our webinars and all of our trainings, this is being recorded. We will be sending out a Zoom, basically a copy. You'll get a link to be able to view this as well as the PowerPoint for you guys to use as you dive into the confirming and roommate connecting process along the way. So thank you, hang on, and welcome to connecting your roommates and confirming them in the RegPack system. So roommate requests, why? What is the purpose of roommate requests? Why are you doing this, and why do you need to be careful about it? So as a delegation head, it's your responsibility to ensure that every single kid, every single teen that is in our system has a roommate request. And why are you doing this? It means that why is this important? You're making sure that the hosting experience is matched properly. You know more about these kids than we do. You know more about these kids than a system is going to be able to tell us. You know if little Johnny and little Alan are really good friends 95% of the time, but when they spend too much time together, it gets ugly. So we're really relying on you and your coaches and that communication as best you can to set us up for success. Again, in order to enter the housing system, every single teen must have a roommate request. So again, why are we doing this? Why are you guys doing this? Because if you haven't gone through the system and you haven't made sure that each one of your teens has a minimum of one request in Detroit and a maximum of one request in Atlanta, and we'll talk that through a little bit further in this presentation, they're not going to be pulled into the matching system, into the housing system with a partner. It's not going to happen. So again, it's your responsibility to go through and make sure all of our kids are entering the system with at least one roommate request in Detroit and a maximum of one roommate request in Atlanta. Again, if you find yourself in situations, and especially with sometimes our Arts Fest teens, we'll see where you have one artist or one female or one individual sport athlete and you're not sure how to pair them up, please reach out to us. We're here to help you through those situations. Ignoring it and pretending like that kid doesn't exist and then letting them fall into the abyss of the housing system is not the way to approach it. Again, please reach out to us and we'll help you find a pairing for that teen. But again, every single teen needs to go into the system with at least one roommate request for Detroit and a maximum of one roommate request for Atlanta. How do you review your roommate requests? So one of my strong recommendations is that before you go into the system and you start playing around with roommate requests, you go ahead and you look at the roommate requests that are actually in your system. And in order to do that, I want to go ahead and take 2 seconds to jump screens and look in the actual system. So you'll see, I'm looking at the screen for our J team, which is our continental delegation this year. I have permission from the delegation head to use the information. So we're going to use that as our example. So for you guys, when you log in, you're not going to have to filter for delegation because you're going to already see. So what we're doing here is we're looking for the delegation and we're looking for athletes, or you're looking for artists. So you can put in this filter, level of participation is athlete or artist, and any level is sufficient and it will give you your athletes and your artists. Once that's happened, you'll go ahead and you'll go to user reports, view all reports, and you'll scroll down and you'll see that there's teens roommate request report. If you go ahead and click on view and download as a CSV, you'll see that the information we're extracting from the system is exactly the information that we need when we start looking at our roommate requests and our pairings, right? So it's showing us how old the individual is, what their gender is. For you guys, if you're in Detroit and you're pulling your filter for athletes and artists, you'll be able to see who's an athlete and who's an artist if you're using that when you're pairing. You'll be able to see if they need a smoke-free home, if they're a vegetarian, if they're allergic to dogs or cats, if they require a kosher home, all the things that are quintessential when you're looking at your matches. Again, one of the things that's important to look at here is also, does this participant have a specific roommate request? As you can see, they have the option to say no. So in these instances, and we'll go through it a little bit in our training, you're going to have to go into their housing form and you're going to have to add a roommate request because, again, they're saying they don't have one. So we're going to give them one. So we make sure they enter the matching system with a pair and not by themselves. One of the other things that's important to notice, and again, we'll go into details, is if the individual has a request, we need to make sure that they're entering that roommate request, that first name and the last name is identical to the way that that teen entered themselves into the system. So for example, this individual entered David Schenker as a preferred roommate, as his roommate request. If David registered himself as Dave Schenker, the system will not find them. So we need to make sure that those first names and those last names match identically. Your teens can request to room with teens in your delegation. They can also request to room with teens outside of your delegation. So in the example that they participated last year, they made a best friend from a different delegation. They can't wait to go to Atlanta together this summer and be roommates. That's okay. But we ask that you reach out to the delegation head for the other delegation and make sure and communicate with one another so that you're both confirming the same requests and you're not confirming your teen with a teen from their delegation. Well, they have no idea that's happening, and they have then confirmed their teen with another teen in their delegation, and now we've made a triplet, and we can't do that. We've got to make sure that the pairs match and that the pairings line up. So again, we're going to ask that you communicate with those delegations, those delegation heads, if you notice that your teen has requested a roommate from a different delegation. Again, if you have questions, if you need the contact information, please reach out to me, to any one of the JCC Maccabi staff members, and we'll help you facilitating making that connection. One of the other things we're asking in this dropdown is if they have a specific host family they'd like to stay with. Again, you'll see that information pull onto this Excel spreadsheet. And for our recommendation from the national office, this is your first step when you're going through the roommate matching process. It will allow you to line up and start looking at your roommate requests to make sure everything matches up. Because again, as I sort of talked through when we were looking at that example, if you have Johnny who selected Steve, and Steve who selected Stan, and Stan who selected Ben, and you've connected all of them individually in their own right, they're now all connected to one another. Because you need person A to request B and B to request A. And A to request B and C to request B and A. They all need to link up, but they all need to match up. So sometimes extracting that information into an Excel first, doing your logistical magic and putting all the pieces together on an Excel in a visible, tangible form first, and then go into the system to make any changes that you may need to. So again, how do you look at this? As we just went through, you're going to go ahead, you're going to filter for athlete or artist depending on where you're participating. You're going to go ahead, you're going to pull that report, which is your teen roommate request report, and it'll allow you to manipulate that information. Other things to keep in mind while you're looking at your roommates and as you're moving them around. Again, has the teen selected a roommate? Do they match? And are those names spelled correctly? Do the sports and venues match? So for example, again, when you go to the spring delegation head meeting, you will start to learn what sports are happening in what venues. So it's sometimes helpful to look at, are you pairing your basketball kids together and they're going to the same sport, they're going to the same venue in the morning, it's easier for the host family. If you have a venue where, let's say, basketball, baseball, and culinary is taking place, well, then it's easier. You can pick kids from all those 3 areas of expertise and match them together, and it makes it easier. Of course, this is just a helpful rule of thumb. Don't use this as a must guideline. Again, as for those of you who are returning and those of you who are new, remember that host families can always drop off at the hub in the morning. Don't let this be your defining factor, but it's always good to keep that in the back of your mind while you're looking at your matches. One of the other things, again, as we spoke about, is temperament. Are these teens going to get along? Know that they've been on the field or they've been in their specialty. It's been a long day. They've gone to evening activities, and now they're going back to the same house. Are they going to be okay? Knowing they're teenagers, there's hormones, there's all sorts of stuff. Let's make sure we're doing our due diligence to put kids that we know will go well together in the same home. I want to pause for a second, open it up. Again, the chat box is open if anybody has any questions. Please feel free to throw them in as we're going along, but I want to, again, pause and see if anybody has any questions about running the reports, about looking at roommates, about ensuring that each roommate, each person has a request in the system. Great. Again, guys, remember that chat box is open. Please feel free to jump in and throw them in there as you'd like to. Again, so now that we've gone through the system, we've pulled our report, we've looked, we've made sure that every teen has said, yes, they have a roommate request, or we're going in and we're making those adjustments to link up the roommate request and to put somebody in there because we've realized that A chose C, A didn't choose B, B chose C, and we're going back in that system to, again, make sure A chose B, B chose A, C chose D, D chose C, and we're just making sure that the pairs and the matchings line up. So in order to do that, you're gonna start by searching for the teen who you'd like to adjust, whose form you're making adjustments on. And again, you're gonna use that search bar located in the top right-hand corner of your screen. You're going to go ahead and go to their housing questions form when you click on their status bar. And once you've gotten to that form, you're going to scroll down to the bottom where it has the roommate request. You're going to make sure that every teen has yes answered to the do you have a roommate request. And you're going to go ahead and you're going to put in the first name and the last name of the teen that you want that teen housed with. If the request as it currently exists in the system is fine, you don't need to make any adjustments. You're going to move on to the confirming piece and the connecting piece, which we'll do in a moment. This, again, is only if you're editing a request because the teen either did not enter a request or you want to make an adjustment to make sure everything lines up properly. So again, you can search for individual users, you can look at their housing form, and by clicking that edit button located in the top left corner, as on any of the forms, all of the fields become malleable. You'll make the adjustments to the housing request. You'll go ahead, you'll hit the save button in the top left corner, and you'll be able to move on to your next teen. Any questions about editing the process? All right, we've got a question from Skylar. If we have a family who knows a host family in Atlanta who's willing to do 4, how do we stewarding this? Okay, so we're going to talk through in a minute, but basically on your confirmation pages and on your housing request forms, you guys have the opportunity to put in comments. So what we're going to ask you to do in those situations, that you put clear comments that indicate as such, and we'll walk through how you're sort of labeling with housing in bold and exclamation points and how you're going to bring it to our attention. And what's going to happen is we know that there are host families who are willing to take large groups and groups of 4 and 6 and 8, whatever the case may be. In a perfect example, Skylar, where it balances out like this, where you have 4 teens, what you're going to do is if you know the name of the host family, you're going to pair your teens in groupings of 2, and on each one of those groupings, you're going to put for them as a host family request the name of that specific host family. Because what you're doing is your kids are in pairs, right? You're abiding by the rules. Your kids are in pairs, but both of those pairs are being assigned to that host family. And then from the back end, because you've given us those notes, the host community will make sure that they're linked in the back end when the matching process actually takes place. Again, if you've got groups larger than 4 and things like that, if you don't know the name of the host family and you don't have a specific host family, but you have a group of 4 or 6 kids, for example, in Atlanta, we're going to ask that, again, you put those notes in the confirmation pages and you put those notes on the host family forms. And again, we'll talk through that. All right, what if we have an odd number of athletes and are unable to pick pairs for everyone? So again, Barry, sort of what I mentioned before, you'll reach out to us. You'll make the pairs that you can for, and again, this is only Atlanta. In Detroit, you can go up to 4. This is only for Atlanta, but in Atlanta, you're going to put them in pairs. And if you have any odd numbers or teams that don't quite fit in, or only one female athlete, for example, they'll reach out to JCC Association and we'll work with you and the other delegations to make the best pairings based off of sport, based off of age, based off of gender. But again, we ask that you take your first best stab, and we will help any of those stranglers and those leftovers. And again, remember guys, this is only, and there's a screen at the end with all this information, but these is only for Atlanta. Only Atlanta is taking 2 athletes per home. In Detroit, it's up to 4. So Detroit, minimum of 2, up to 4. Atlanta, maximum and minimum of 2. It's only 2 per home. And again, just so you guys understand for clarification purposes, the reason this is the case in Atlanta is because Atlanta has an overwhelmingly large local delegation. We're looking at about 550 to 570 local teams from Atlanta who are hosting. And for those of you who have hosted in the past, you'll know that we want to give each local athlete the opportunity to host teams. So because of their huge capacity of local delegation, if each kid in their local delegation houses and takes 2 teams, we've already basically filled up all of our needs. You know, that's over 1,000 kids that we're facilitating right there. So we have homes. So the upside to that is we do not have to worry. Housing will not be an issue. It's not an issue in Detroit either. But again, because of that, and because we want to give each family the opportunity to host teams, for Atlanta only, we are asking you that you keep them in pairs. And again, if there's other situations and one-offs, we will of course talk them through with you. But our general rule of thumb is 2 athletes per house in Atlanta, minimum of 2, maximum of 4 in Detroit. Connecting our kids in the system. So now we've gone through the system, we've made all of our edits, we found all of our pairings. You had 1 oddball or 2 oddballs, you reached out to JCC Association, we helped you find a home, everybody's paired up the way they need to be. Now we're going in the system and we're connecting them. Because it's not enough that they're in there. You have to connect them and approve the request. That is the only way they're going to be pulled into the matching system. And we're doing this training separate this year. We're putting intention and emphasis on this. We're going to be doing this mimic training again as we get closer to that May deadline. We're going to be hosting this again in April. We need you guys to connect them in the system. I can't tell you every year how many delegation heads do a great job of going through, making all the edits, making all the necessary adjustments, and then they simply don't do that last step. They don't connect them in the system. So their kids enter the matching system solo. They don't go in with a pair. They get randomly paired off. And then you get your delegation head housing list. And you're like, holy moly, how did this happen? How did little so-and-so get paired with little so-and-so? And that's not who I had in the system. And that's simply because you didn't actually connect them. So again, guys, it's really important to pay attention to the step we're going through now of actually connecting them in the system. So again, we've gone through, we've pulled our reports, we've made our edits, we have everybody matched up perfectly the way we want them to. Now we're connecting them in the system. You'll see that as long as the name is spelled correctly and that other team is registered in the system, there's this little gray box that says admin approval of request. And that will appear and it will show you the name of the team that was found. So that's the name of the roommate that was found in the system. And it will show you the friendship group. So it'll show you the name of the team whose registration you're working on, in addition to the name of the teen who is asked to be roomed with them and has been paired. And you're going to say, okay, this is great. This matches. I have my big spreadsheet. It matches the information on my spreadsheet. It matches the way I want it to have. In Atlanta, it's only 2. In Detroit, it's up to 4. You're going to go ahead and you're going to click that blue approve request button. What's going to happen is similar to your edit and save button. All of a sudden, that box is going to change colors. It's going to say admin approval of request is going to be green. And that approve is now going to turn into a disconnect. This means your teams have been connected. They are now going into the matching system in the group that you see displayed in that green box. You're also going to see it at the top of your screen as well. Once you have this, again, you're making sure you hit that save button and your kids have been officially connected in the system. Any questions about connecting your kids in the system? Perfect. So I want to talk through the confirmation process a little bit here as well. And we're going to sort of deviate for a minute and we're going to go to a live screen so you guys can actually see the confirmation pages. And I want to be very transparent about a couple of the things that we've encountered this year. So one of the things that unfortunately we were not aware of, it was a new feature that was added to RegPack this year, and it was carrying over of information. Again, unfortunately, we were not privy to it until it had actually happened. So we retroactively went into the system and were able to make some edits to fix this. But what it meant is for about 3 or 4 weeks there, for any of your kids who were active in 2018, who had come back in 2019, when they started their registration, their confirmation pages were automatically coming through as completed. We've gone through and we have adjusted all of that. So all of that has been fixed. Everybody is in here with a clean, fresh start. No confirmation pages are completed. But I just wanted to be transparent with everybody that that was a challenge that we encountered, and we went ahead and we have rectified that process. One thing to be aware of as well is, again, unfortunately, and I apologize, we are aware of this now, so moving forward it will not be a problem, but for any of your athletes from 2018 who participated, any of the forms they would have uploaded in 2018 will have in fact carried over to 2019. So when they go in and register their medical forms, their proof of age, their vaccination records, all that information would have carried over. Upside is, some of that information can still be used in 2019 and is helpful. Their vaccination records can still be used. Their proof of age can still be used. Their health insurance, if it's still relevant, can still be used. Their photo, if still relevant, can be used. But we do want to get in that system, and we do want to make sure that the medicals are being swapped out and that all the medicals that we have are either our 2019 medicals or they're the 2018 medicals that are placeholders. As we talk about, and we'll talk about again as we sort of get through the confirmation process, we do have that waiver and that wiggle room in allowing placeholders and keepers for our medical forms. But again, please know that it is a little bit of a glitch funk in the system. Moving forward, none of the forms will be copied over. But for this year, know that if a child participated or an adult in 2018 and they have restarted their activation, they've started the process for 2019, those upload forms will have been carried over. So please, if you go in and you see it, be aware that it's something that's happening. We're aware of it. Unfortunately, there's little that we can do for this year to rectify it. So we just want you guys to be aware of it as you're going through the system. So you can see, if you go ahead, in order to do confirmation pages, one of the things that we talked about in our last training is first selecting the level of participation and doing them in bulk. So one of the things that you want to also filter the system for, right, is are your users ready to be confirmed? So what are we looking for? We're looking for the completion of certain forms, right? So when we're talking about our athletes and our artists, we want to make sure that all of the forms that are required for their level of participation are complete. We're going to go through, we're going to make sure that all conditions are required. Again, we'll go ahead and we'll select all the forms that are necessary for our teens. We'll go ahead, we'll apply that filter. The system will refresh to all of our users that are ready to be confirmed. I'm going to use this one as an example. Again, this teen would not necessarily be ready to confirm for their medical form upload, but as you can see by their green forms next to all of their information aside from the medical form upload, we would be ready to go ahead and do their athlete general confirmation page. So again, there's 2 confirmation pages with 2 deadlines for athletes and artists. There's 1 confirmation page with 1 deadline for your coaches, chaperones, and delegation heads. That first confirmation is your general confirmation page. Again, that's across the board for all of your users. The secondary confirmation page is your medical confirmation page, and that's only for your athletes and artists. And again, if you're watching the screen, we will go through what both of them look like. For your athlete general confirmation page, what we've done in an attempt to make it easy for you is we've gone ahead and anything that we're asking you to confirm, we're pulling from the user's registration. So we're looking at this page and we're saying, okay, as a delegation head, I need to review these components and I need to put my stamp of approval on them. So the first thing we're doing is we're clicking the edit button. That has made everything on this form malleable. First thing we're looking at, is this photo acceptable? Any of my returning delegation heads, can you tell me what's wrong with this photo? Use that chat box, guys. It's the, what's cut off? The chin. The chin is cut off. This happens all the time. And again, unfortunately, this is one of the things that we talked about in one of our first trainings. And it's why we have to make sure that the way the picture looks on the confirmation page is how it's going to print on their credential. So if you go to this teen's photo upload page, it may look perfect. But we have to make sure on the confirmation page that that chin is not cut off. Steve, you're very close. The hat, yes, except for the fact that we can see the face. We want to be wary of sunglasses. We want to be wary of hats. But if we can clearly see the teen's face, that's okay. It's when we have this issue, when all of a sudden it's cut off and you can't see below the teen's nose, or you can't see their chin, or this is cut off, and all of a sudden we also sometimes see bathing suit pictures or great shots of them and their team for their team picture at school. These are not acceptable. So again, we're looking at what this photo looks like on the confirmation page. I'm going to be sending you guys a cheat sheet on how to fix picture uploads, which usually works. 9 times out of 10, it works. I will own it. We will be honest with you. This is one of the finicky, pain in the tushy parts about RegPack. If you've taken a stab at it, if you've tried, If you've gone ahead and you've tried to edit your photo based on the tools that we give you and it's just not working, again, the golden rule of thumb, guys, is you do not want to ever throw your computer out the window on RegPack. You're going to email me. You're going to send me that kid's picture. You're going to send me the name of that teen. You're going to send me the name of the adult. I'll go ahead. I'll jump in the system. I have a background in Photoshop and photo editing. We'll get it all set up for you. I'll take care of it, and I'll send you the confirmation that's been taken care of. Again, guys, we want you to never feel like you have to throw your computer out a window working in the system. I'm always here for you guys. I'm always here to help. So again, we're looking through. We talked about it in one of our trainings. There are the 6 sub-confirmations. So we're looking, and you're asserting that that photo is correct. In this chance, we're not going to. We'd have to go in there and edit this photo. Then we're looking at the passport. We're looking at the image of the teen. Is it the right teen? Is it the right age on it? I'm not going to scroll across and show you the details, but you can scroll across and see the details. You'll see here that it's asking for the roommate requests. Because there's no roommate request in the system entered for Ethan right now, there's nothing showing there. Again, this is going to show irregardless if you have connected them or not. It's going to show you the information that you've entered. It's why that first step is essential of going in and connecting them. Just because you see a roommate request here doesn't mean they're connected. It just means that's the roommate that has been entered in the system. This is the check mark that allows the host community to pull a report. So when they're doing any altering and adjusting, they have your confirmation that that's the correct roommate. And down here, where you've put comments because you have a group of 6 that you think can go together and you have a group of 8 that you want to put together, they now have all this information in one place. So again, just because the roommates are pulling here does not mean they've been connected. That first step of connecting them in the system must happen. And you will not know if that's happened unless you're looking at the housing form for that team. Again, we're going to confirm the roommate requests. We're going to confirm the delegation and if they're an early arrival. Again, early arrival, you need permission from JCC Association. You will know if your delegation is an early arrival or not. This is not pre-weekend. If you're part of the JCC Association pre-weekend program, that is different. Again, prior arrival is usually our international delegations who for Shabbat reasons are arriving early. Again, you'll see this athlete requires local housing, this athlete gets time to be a host family. Those are for the local host community only. As a visiting delegation, you do not need to worry yourself with those questions. Then you're confirming the sport and the age bracket of the teen or the art specialty of the teen, and you're also indicating if they're on the mixed team. Again, this is also the information that is then pulled in a report for the host community is easily accessible. Then you have your comment section. This is where you're leaving, any notes for the host community, any notes for the team who's going in and confirming, anything that you want to relay back to us that is important, pertinent information that you need us to know about this teen. Again, let's say it's a teen who you know suffers from anxiety. It's a teen who you know had a parent who passed away recently and may be going through some items. Of course, we want you to communicate that to us as well, but by putting it in this comment section, we're ensuring that the housing committees at the highest level and that the top level of JCC Association and the host community staff are seeing this. Please know that because you put it in the comment section does not mean it's fair game for everybody to see. Again, it is going to be those highest level admins, but it gives us the opportunity to ensure we're setting all your teens up for success. Any questions about the general confirmation page for teens? And again, the artist one is going to look the same. We're just going to ask you to confirm art specialty as opposed to athletic sport. Great. So we're going to move on and take a peek at the medical confirmation page. And the medical confirmation page is very simple. It doesn't have all the additional confirmations and sub-confirmations that our general confirmation page has. This literally, it's going to say, here's a medical submission. This teen has not uploaded the form yet, so it's not here. If it was here, you would see a link right here to be able to see it. You're confirming it. You're looking at the vaccination records. Again, guys, we don't need you to look at every single vaccination to make sure the child is up to date. Take a quick glance at it. If you notice that it has like 1 when it should have 50, that's a red flag. Pay attention to that. But all you're looking for is, are these forms legible? So that when the host community goes into the system and downloads all these forms for their medical team, is their medical team going to be able to quickly look through this, and are all the forms going to be legible? Again, as we talk through a little bit with your medical confirmation page, for the medical forms, we allow you to upload a placeholder. We understand that with health insurance companies, they can be a little bit of a pain in the hiney sometimes. And we know that even though we have a June 28th deadline, sometimes if a kid last year got their camp medical in August, that health insurance policy or provider is not going to let them get back into the doctors until August something. Whatever the case is, we need you guys to make sure that every single teen has a 2019 JCC Maccabi medical form before they get on the plane to go to JCC Maccabi, or in the bus or on the train or whatever it is that you're doing to get to JCC Maccabi. They get their feet on the ground at JCC Maccabi and do not have a 2019 JCC Maccabi medical form, they will not be allowed to participate. Again, up until that point, we'll allow you to put a 2018 medical form that shows that teen is in good health standing as a placekeeper. Something that's important to note is that, let's say the user uploaded their proof of age as a PDF form. You're not going to see the image on the screen. You're going to see the name of the form. If you go ahead and click on the name of the form, it will then open in a new window. So I want you guys to know that just because if you look at the confirmation page, you're like, wait a second, Dina told me I was going to see a picture. If you don't see a picture because it's a PDF, you will see the name of the PDF. You'll click on the name of the PDF, and again, that form that they've uploaded will open up in a different window. Please look at all of these. I said it joking in my last training. Guys, I have gotten a receipt for a Corvette purchase. I've gotten divorce paperwork. I have gotten custody battle report. I've gotten every kind of document under the sun you can imagine, aside from medicals, aside from proofs of age. So please look at these documents. Please follow up with your families. It's always a little less embarrassing when you catch it instead of me catching it at a national level. So please, again, guys, just pay attention to that stuff, and let's make sure we're getting the right forms uploaded into the system. Any questions about the medical confirmation page? Perfect. So again, as we went through the process, again, you're going to kind of copy these slides so you have it as a point of reference. It's a little bit of a checklist of all of the things that we're going through and we're confirming. For the adults, their confirmation page is going to look similar to your teen confirmation page, except they have less forms, right? We're looking at their photo, we're looking at their insurance, and we're looking at their proof of age, and we're looking at their background check. So one thing that I want to turn to with regards to background checks, similar to the way that we had the information issue and issue crossover from 2018 to 2019 on confirmation pages, we were seeing the same thing with background checks. And for those of you who know, with our new system, we are running background checks yearly. We used to do it bi-yearly, and your background check was valid for 2 years. That's not the case any longer. And we are having them done yearly. So everybody make sure you're getting in, you're getting your coaches in, you're getting those background checks done. But because of that weird glitch in system information carryover, we've gone ahead and we've wiped the background checks in the system. We have not wiped the background checks for users that have completed them. Again, please keep in mind these happen in 2 different systems. The actual background check is taking place in a verified volunteer system. It is not taking place in RegPack. So when I say that we've cleared the information in RegPack, all we've done is clear the statuses that carried over from 18 into 19. Excuse me. I'm currently working with RegPack, and we hope by Friday to unveil our brand new and improved way of showing you how your coaches have passed a background check. And we're really hoping it's going to be really simple, easy. You'll be able to look on the user's confirmation page. It'll say in big green letters passed or big red letters failed. Please contact JCC Association. Again, they're currently in the process of building that technology for us. Our hope is it is up and running by Friday. So please, if you can start confirming your athletes first, that's the way to go. Please keep an eye out for communication from me in the next week to 2 weeks with updates regarding that background check process. But again, your coaches should still be getting in. They should still be completing the process. As long as they've completed the process, as soon as that technology has been integrated in RegPack to show our discriminations or determinations, that automatic process will happen, and your coaches and chaperones and yourselves who've gone through the process, your status will be automatically updated. So just because it's not built in the system to reflect the status yet does not mean that you shouldn't be going in and you shouldn't be doing those checks. You should all still be going in. You should also be doing those checks. You should have all of your coaches and chaperones in there and getting those checks done. Any questions about the coach and chaperone and adult confirmation pages? You guys have no questions ever, huh? Thank you. So again, we went through the medical confirmation page and what that looks like. As we sort of talked about, you guys are not required to look at all the vaccinations, but you do need to make sure that all those vaccination records are clear and legible so that when those medical doctors, right, we can't hold it against them. They have terrible handwriting that we can never, ever read, but we have to make sure that all the handwriting is legible so that they can read it. It's fair practice, guys. I'm not sorry. It's what we have to do. But again, so just so you guys know the process, all those forms are taken out of the system. They are provided to the medical committee and the medical staff and the host community, and they're reviewed. And if there are any specific questions that relate to your teen specifically, or their vaccinations or their medical records, the host community and ourselves, the JCC Association, will reach out to you directly one-on-one to talk through that teen and those needs and what we may need to talk through further. Again, for some of you guys that are looking at bringing children who fall on the spectrum or children who have different kinds of needs, please talk to us. We are happy to incorporate those kids as best we can. I caveat that with, of course, we are open program as long as the program is appropriate for the teen. We would never want to put a teen in a situation where they're set up for failure. We want to ensure they're set up for success. So if you find out that you have a teen who is really interested in participating, but again is on the spectrum or has some troubles and difficulties, talk to us. We have delegations who have done it successfully in the past. We're happy to pair you up to talk it through. There are certain guidelines, of course, that we have to implement, but don't let that be a discriminating factor. Please, we'd love to have as many kids who want to and are eligible to be a part of this program, be a part of this program. It looks like we got a question here from Amy. I know you mentioned 12-year-olds should be housed with other 12-year-olds. Is it okay if they're paired with a 13-year-old? And you're 100%. Again, you guys are our first line of defense. You guys are our best part of judgment for this. So we're going to turn to you for what you think is best. We use the 12-year-olds with 12-year-old in the instance that a lot of delegations may only have one 12-year-old that they're bringing, and they may not be suitable. I mean, other kids in their delegation, maybe 14, 15, 16, it may not work. So again, similar to artists, if you have one artist or if you have one female athlete or one individual sport athlete and you're not sure what to do with, we're here to help you with those pairings as needed. But Amy and all you guys, if you have a pairing for a 12-year-old with a 13-year-old or even a 14-year-old that you know is going to work, we are happy to abide by that. With that going through the system, if it's a 12-year-old with a 16-year-old or something really odd and they're not related, we will come back to you with questions because something about that just doesn't seem right. So if you're going to put those situations and there's a reason behind it, again, in that note section, that comment section on your confirmation page, just put that in there. So again, if it's a 12 and a 16-year-old, just throw us a little flag and a note like these guys are siblings so that we know that's what's going on. Any questions about that process? Again, about medical confirmation page, general confirmation pages, housing, anything to that point. Great. So guys, some of the important things again to remember that we touched through in this PowerPoint is for Atlanta, it's 2 teens per house. Please no more, please no less. Again, one of the things that we talked about a little bit is when you're not paying attention and you're just connecting kids and A doesn't match B because A selected C and D and F, what's going to happen is those kids are going to enter the system in large pairs and we're going to kick them right back. We're not going to let them enter that way. So all that's going to happen is in the 19th hour, when we really should be working on roommate requests, we're going to be working with you to unclutter and disconnect those kids. So please don't think that, and I don't want to assume any of you are doing this. Unfortunately, we've just found it over the last couple of years. Please don't think that because you're connecting kids differently in the back end of the system, we're not going to notice. We're going to reach out to you and we're going to ask you to disconnect them. Again, in the same breath, if we have the opportunity and when we have the opportunity to put more than 4 kids in a home in Detroit or in Atlanta, more than 2 kids in the home, and you've made that request, if you've played by the rules and you've done right by us, we're going to look at you first and we're going to give you first right of refusal to put your kids in those larger pairings. So please, guys, just work with us on this. Again, the only real different situation in Atlanta or Detroit is going to be if you have a specific host family that these kids are staying with and they are already on board, they've said they're taking more kids, and then again, on each kid's registration, you're going to put them in pairs of 2 for Atlanta and groups of no more than 4 in Detroit. And for each one of those groupings, you're just going to put that host family name, and that's what's going to connect them, and we'll see that from the back end of the system with the host, and that's how we're going to put them together. But please, please, please do not connect in groups larger than 2 in Atlanta, no less than 2, no larger than 4 in Detroit. And again, guys, just for clarification, in Detroit this year, athletes and artists can be housed together. There's no separation. I know there was separation last year, but for this year, those guys can go together. Your general confirmation page, which is for everybody, that's your adults and your teens, that's due May 1st. One of the things that we've talked about in our other trainings is we will do feedback. This year, it's not the host community, it's going to be me. So you'll get lovely feedback and fun, snarky remarks from me. I promise to be nice. In your confirmation bubbles. So basically, as long as you've gone in and you've completed all of your confirmation pages by April 17th, you've allowed yourself the opportunity to get feedback from me. And I'm going through the system and I will let you know if, for example, I click on a form and like I've gotten in the past, it's divorce paperwork instead of a teen's medical. I'll go ahead, I'll leave notes and I'll leave comments for you, and I'll shoot you an email and say, you know, hey Amy, hey Barry, hey Steve, I went through your delegation. I went through and confirmed everybody. I left notes for some people. Go ahead, go in the system, take a peek at those notes, make sure everybody's confirmed. And you then have the opportunity where there is still 2 weeks prior to that deadline where you can follow up with your families, you can get correct information, and you can resubmit it and get confirmed so you're not looking at that late fee. Same thing for the medical confirmation page. Again, that's just for your teens, but that's due June 28th, June 14th. As long as they're all done by June 14th, you've set yourself up for that opportunity of checking in feedback by myself and potentially a couple of other members. God help me, I hope a couple of other members of the JCC Association team, because we will go through everybody. To that as well, if you're one of the delegation heads who is, you know, go hung, gung-ho, make it happen, and in 3 weeks from now, you've got everybody in the system, everybody's done, and you're confirmed, shoot me an email, let me know that's happened. I'll go in the system, and I'll confirm you guys now. I'll review all your paperwork now, and I'll get you signed, sealed, and delivered from this end, so you have nothing to worry about moving forward. Again, and that you don't have to have both the general and medical done for me to do that. Clearly, as they have different deadlines, once your general confirmation pages are due or are done, let me know. I'll go in, I'll look at them, I'll give you feedback, we'll put stamp of approval. Again, the other things to keep in mind are the late fees that are associated with not getting these things done in time. And please remember, guys, the general confirmation page, and we haven't been sticklers about this in the past, but because we're doing specific trainings on it this year, that general confirmation page is inclusive of connecting your roommate requests. So if you've confirmed your teen, but you haven't connected them to a roommate request, you're getting a $125 late fee for that teen. Again, I say it every year, my dream goal is no late fees. The last thing I want to do is ascribe you guys late fees. So make sure you're connecting those roommate requests, make sure you're doing that general confirmation page, make sure you're doing that medical confirmation page, and then a general other fee to just keep in mind is that replacement fee. So let's say you have a teen that gets injured, or you have a coach that unfortunately or fortunately got another job and can't come this summer, you can replace that individual, and you're not liable for the $125 and the $100. It's just a $125 replacement fee, and that's going to cover both of those, general and medical, irregardless, doesn't matter. It's one flat fee. With that, I want to, again, pause for a second, open it up. I'm done. You've listened to my spiel. Thank you so very much for listening to me talk for a while. Again, want to turn to you guys. Any questions? What are you guys thinking? What can we do? What can we answer to make sure you guys are all comfortable in this process?
Bye.
Great. So there's no questions? Everybody's going to do this? We're going to have no late fees, right? That's what I'm getting from the crowd? Yeah. Perfect. Guys, again, if you have any questions along the way, I'm here to help. Do not hesitate. Shoot me an email. Reach out. We'll help you through the process. Again, you never want, right? Top rules of RegPack. You never want to throw your computer out the window. I'm always here to help, and you should never feel alone in the process. Thank you guys again for joining me. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and I will see you at our next webinar. Bye, guys.